Hi everyone, thanks for visiting. In this video, we are going to talk about what are all the APIs available for accessing the content of Contentful CMS. So, let us go to the list of APIs available, and then in the next upcoming video, I will explain you how to use each one of them to get maximum benefit out of it using a code. So the first one comes here is content delivery API. So use it to retrieve published content to display in your application. That means I hope you guys already aware of basic concepts of CMS. So content delivery network and content management network and the stuff and the preview APIs and all. So wherever we talk about content delivery APIs, that comes to the point where we are seeing the content on the production environment. So that means the content which is displayed to the end user will be available to access using the API called Content Delivery API, that is https://cdn.contentful.com. And again, the main point to be noted here is this is a read only API. That means the content which is already on production cannot be edited. That is read only. Yes, the next one comes to Content Management API, which is used to create or update your content. That means this content management API is predominantly used by content authors from the business. So that means the content which has to display on the systems should be updated using the API called Content Management API, which is https api.contentful.com. This is a read or write API, which means we can read the content as well as write the content into the Contentful system using Content Management API. The third one comes Content Preview API. So, basic use of Preview API is for the business to see how the content might be displayed on the site after publishing. So this acts as a media or the intermediary between the management API and the delivery API, whereas about to deliver content can be previewed by the business using this content preview API. Use it to retrieve content that is still unpublished. That means this has not gone to production yet, but still the business can preview and identify if in case any edits or updates required. Still, they can feel free to go back to the content management API and do the edits and come back to the preview when they are ready to publish. Then we can make sure preview is perfect, and then it will go to the content delivery network after publishing. So the API base URL for the content preview API starts from preview.contentful.com. Again, this is a read only API. So the only content management API has the capabilities to write the content, whereas preview API as well as delivery API are read only. The fourth one comes Images API. Use it to retrieve and apply transformations to images. That means it is dealing with assets and images, specifically with the images. So the API base URL starts with images.ctfassets.net. This is again read only API wherein we can or authors can see images using this API, how it will look like on the production when it go live. Then the next one comes, the fifth one is GraphQL Content API, which is used to retrieve both published and unpublished content using GraphQL. This is also read only API, whereas we can access both published and unpublished content, but we can't edit the content using GraphQL Content API. So the URL comes this way, graphql.contentful.com. To know more about GraphQL, please feel free to refer to contentful.com. developer guide where we can see the examples of how to use content GraphQL APIs as well as other APIs. So the sixth one comes user management API. Use it to manage users and memberships within an organization. That means user management is pretty much possible use on the headless CMS using the user management API. The authors who are all having admin rights can pretty much access the user management API, and they can add or remove roles and users based on the need. And API base URL comes or starts with api.contentful.com. This is read or write API. That means, as I said earlier, the author can create users, delete users, and they can edit users, they can create roles, they can remove roles, they can assign roles. So the last one but not least, SCIM API. SCIM is used for cross-domain integration, used to programmatically manage organization memberships and teams. So the API starts with api.contentful.com SCMI organization slash we have to pass in the organization ID as a parameter along with this URL. This is again a read write API. But here, whereas when we talk about all these APIs, the only commonality between all the APIs is authentication is required. Whereas we will be passing a token as an authentication and API token which we have to create within the CMS, and that has to be passed along with the request. So the API supports both get and post methods, whereas few of them will support only get or post. More details about SCIM API also can be found at contentful.com website. So the SCIM stands for basically System for Cross-Domain Identity Management. That is to access the different domains. So we may need to use this API and the features provided by this API using the access token. So the cross-domain identity management SCIM makes very important role when we talk about large-scale integrations in the industry. Thanks for watching. In my next video, I will be covering each API, how to use them, and what else we can do using the Contentful CMS system. Thanks again. Catch you later.